Hello, Coach. How are you?
How you doing, Glenn?
Good. I wanted to ask you about Myers, the transfer forward, and I see he's on this Big Ten list. Which, for you, I'm sure you don't look at that and other than okay. But you started him in that last match against Villanova, the preseason, and I wonder if you could kind of describe how he became a member of the Rutgers team and some of his qualities.
Yeah, so MD spent a couple of years at High Point down in North Carolina, but he's a New Jersey native and played for the Philly Union as a youth player. So when he decided to transfer and went on the portal, he was a guy we reached out to right away just to kind of get an idea of what he was interested in and what he was looking for. And for him, it was all about training environment and where he can be part of something while also getting better and increasing his chances to continue to play after his college career is over. So, he visited with his family and, thought this could be a place where he could get better. So he came to us in January, was with us all spring. Really impressed with MD, not only as a player, but as a guy who is incredibly serious about his training, trains a ton on his own, does everything that we ask him to do in terms of additional training to just our team training. So he's really become a leader in the group in terms of setting the standard. And as a player, he's a forward. He's a target type forward. He's good with his back to goal. He works incredibly hard during the game, both defensively, but also getting into the box and getting into scoring positions. He makes good decisions on the ball. I've been really impressed with him as a person. So he's been a welcomed addition to our group. I think he brings something that we haven't had a lot of over the last couple of years, a true kind of center forward. We've had good attacking players, but it always seemed to be somebody that maybe we were playing out of position to play up there. So he's been a great addition to our group and played all our spring games. So even though he's new to our fall lineup, really feels like he's been here for a while with our group. So he's fit in really well. I'm looking forward to him being part of this team for 2022.
So when you saw his name in the portal, you were aware of who he was?
Yeah, but more so as a youth player. I mean, he had a good career at High Point, but as you know, Glenn, it's like you recruit and you're around the game so much that all these names are familiar to you. So he was part of a really strong Philly Union team, and I think maybe that was something that changed his kind of pathway or maybe his recruiting. I mean, there were so many good players, so they all were getting recruited, so we knew of him, and also he had scored goals at High Point, so it wasn't difficult to look him up and see how successful he had been over the last 2-3 years.
How many years of eligibility does he have? Is it just the one or two?
He has 2 years of eligibility, but he'll graduate from Rutgers this spring summer. So a lot will depend on what he wants to do if he wants to come back. And like many of our players, we've said to them, "Hey, come here, live in the moment, enjoy being on this team in the fall, and let's revisit your situation, whatever their individual situation is at the end of the season, and see what they want to do." But he officially has 2 years of eligibility.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead, Dominic.
Hey Jim, how are you?
I'm good, Dom. How you doing?
Good, good. Just to jump off of what Glenn said, another guy who was on the Big Ten players to watch list is Matthew Acosta, who you started for every game as a freshman last year in the midfield. Where have you seen him develop in the offseason between freshman and sophomore year now?
He's somebody who came in and had a great youth career at Red Bulls, played for their professional team as well. So last year, his preseason was almost like midseason. So it was very easy for him to come in and be a really important player for us. Where I am pushing Matty is to have a bigger role even in the leadership category. He's somebody who's very good technically. He can pass a ball. He's played in all types of big games, so there isn't a game that he isn't prepared for. But the next step for him is, can he be a leader? Can he do the things that we need him to do as an individual? But also, as I talk to him about and a lot of our players, can you make guys around you better? And can you be someone that guys want to play with. He's an excellent player. He's going to play a lot for us this year, but he can even do more. And I think he's somebody that has that in him, whether it's chipping in with a goal here and there, or it's just being a guy that motivates others around him. So he's got a bright future. He's a real footballer, I would say, somebody who can really pass a ball, and maybe his best quality is no matter how important the game is or how heated the game is, he can really just play his game. So high hopes for him again this year.
Go ahead, Eddie.
Hey, Coach, Eddie Kalegi. Now looking ahead to the beginning of the season this week, you guys play a couple of road games out in Nebraska against Omaha and Creighton. I was wondering, is there any sort of added challenge that comes with, this being arguably the longest trip distance-wise of the season that's on the schedule right now? As you guys are trying to get into the groove and get in sync to begin the season, does having to travel this far for the first two games kind of add an extra challenge or kind of change your approach at all?
Yeah, there's a couple of challenges. Anytime you travel, especially in the current climate, you just never know how long these trips are going to take you to get there, and if your bags end up showing up, and all those types of wonderful things. So there's certainly an element of that. But the nice thing for us is there's no classes going on right now, so the players don't have that stress of missing classes, so we can enjoy that part of it. And we're also going to take our whole group out. Oftentimes during the season, if we have a flight and a one-off game, we might take 22 players to the game, and we'll leave some players at home. But because we're still in a stage that we're not taking classes yet, we'll have the whole group out. And though these games are for real and these are part of our official schedule, it almost allows us to extend our preseason. We're out there for a while with two games, so it's not just about preparation and playing the game. There's some downtime in between, so we'll keep working on our group and making sure we're moving in the right direction. It gives us some time to watch some film prior to our first game, but also preparing for the second game. The biggest challenge for all the teams at this point in the season is we're going to play a game on Thursday, and for us this year, we're playing Omaha, who we don't know a lot about. They don't know much about us, so it's a different feel. There's no scouting report. There's no ways to prepare for maybe individuals or style of play. They also have a new coach, so there's a lot of question marks for us in terms of how the game's going to go. So at this point, we're just not worrying about that. We're worrying about ourselves. Can we be in a good state of mind? Can we travel well? As you said, it's a different type test. We've played two preseason games and an inter-squad game all at URSAC, so there's a comfort there. Both of these games will be on turf, which is we don't play a lot of games on turf, so that's another challenge for us. But I think our guys are up for it, and they're just excited to play.
Go ahead, Alexander.
How you doing, Coach? Alex Carbonati of WRSU. Great to be talking with you again. Ari Briscoe, he's your starting goalie this upcoming season. Freshman last year, made the Puerto Rican national team. He'll be a sophomore. He's your main guy. You mentioned the last press conference 2 weeks ago that Oren Asher's out for the year, has that injury. How has Ari been preparing for this year, especially that has this new breaking news development? Has that changed the past 2 weeks now that he knows that he'll be the starting goalkeeper? What's going through his mind as the season is 3 days away?
Yeah, I think he's had a great summer. As you mentioned, he had a chance to go down and train with the full Puerto Rican national team, so that was exciting for him. And again, these experiences for these players just make them better. He goes down there, he's around guys that are doing it for a living, most of the players on that team. So he was, I think he learned a lot about, keeping himself sharp and training habits and all those types of things that, we're pushing with him all the time, but it's always nice to get it reinforced by a national team coach or even just your peers on the national team. So, Ori's a real kind of competitive guy. I don't think he's worried that much about that he didn't play a lot of games last year for us. He's going to come in and work and compete. We have a good goalkeeping group in general, not just Ori. We have Kieran Dalton, came from the Red Bull Academy, who's an excellent freshman as well, and Dylan is another goalkeeper we brought in from Texas. So it's a really good group of players in terms of how much they push each other in training. But listen, Ori had a great spring for us. I think I've said that before a couple of times, that he got a lot of experience in the spring. I think we're very lucky right now. We've got a really good group of goalkeepers, and I think a lot of teams in the country would be happy with our three.
For sure, indeed. And quick follow up quickly. Not just him, but the defensive line players like Cole Sotak and company. How can we see Ari grow very very quickly in a relationship, not just on the field but off the field with his defensive line, making sure things are intact on both sides of the ball in that category.
Yeah, I think we're lucky in that we brought so many players back from last year. So this spring, he had an opportunity to play with Hugo Legwenick, Joey Zielinski, Tommy DeVizio, Cole Soltak, all guys that have been on our team. So he has had a lot of minutes with guys that have played a ton and will play a ton for us. So it's a huge advantage for us and for him that it's not a situation where we've got three new backs in front of him and he didn't play with any of them and we've only been around each other for 10 days or 2 weeks. The other good thing is our guys have been here from mid-July, whether it was taking summer classes, working with our strength coach. So we've had about 20 to 25 guys here for over a month before preseason started, or just about a month. So I think that's helped our camaraderie and also guys getting to know each other. So that's been a real positive. I don't think we haven't really missed a beat in terms of going from the spring season to this preseason.
Tom?
I got a two-parter for you, Jim. First, looking back, you wrapped up the spring scrimmage schedule. You had the exhibition match earlier this month, and you're into game week now. From that point, I guess in January or February to now, getting ready to play the season opener, where have you seen this group get better or develop or become more cohesive, all of those sorts of things?
Yeah, I think we're lucky. We have a mature group coming back. We have a lot of guys that have played a ton of minutes for us, but I still think it was something that we were pushing, and the guys have done really well in just maturing and leadership. I think that was one of the biggest areas. In terms of the soccer, they know the style of play we want to play. It's just being more consistent. And I think our preseason games, we've seen that, where we're playing for longer periods of time on both sides of the ball with a little bit more detail and making sure that we're not giving away a cheap goal or a bad foul. We still have to get better in certain areas, but I think the maturity of this group has impressed me so far this preseason. We've got a lot of guys just pushing in the right direction and helping some of the younger guys acclimate. We've got some new guys that are going to be factors for us this year that are going to play, so the older guys helping. But I really think we've developed almost more in that leadership area and kind of culturally as a group, as opposed to just, hey, have they gotten better technically? But and the depth of our team overall, adding some new players and some of our players improving, it's a big strength of ours. The depth of this group is going to be, I think it's going to dictate how successful we are this year.
And then looking forward now to this week, going to Omaha, going to Nebraska, and you sort of touched on these a little bit, but was there any specific reason why you decided to get these games on the calendar to start the year? The long road trip, two teams that Rutgers doesn't traditionally play a lot. Was there anything that went into that?
Yeah, actually, when I first took the job here, so 3.5 years ago, it was something that was a return game that was on the schedule. So before my time, Omaha had come out to play Rutgers many years ago, and a bunch of different factors, and then COVID came into it. So we were supposed to go back to Omaha and return a game again from before my time. But, and I agreed that we would follow that contract and return the game as long as we could get another game. So it made sense for us to go out there, and I asked them if we're going to go out there, can we go out there before school starts so we can extend our trip a little bit? And it allows us not only to play Thursday, Sunday, but it allows us to play Thursday night and also Sunday night. So the temperature will be better. This time of year, you're playing at noon, can be brutal, not only in that game, but then the next day you're traveling, then you got a game in a couple other days. So as long as we could fit those in. So it was a return game. That's eventually why we ended up going out there to Omaha. But having Creighton on the schedule, which is a team that is always successful, has a great tradition for Division I soccer. They've been to Final Fours, and last year were in the NCAA tournament. So the expectation for their team is really high, and ours is as well.
Alex, do you have another question?
Yes, I do. Coach, altogether, we're seeing Jackson Temple enter his senior year. A player like Gabriel Addo, who's from Africa, he'll be in his junior season. Gabriel and Jackson have been around for 3-4 seasons now. How can we see those two players tag team in a way to grow in their relationship and also really lead this team to where it wants to be?
Yeah, and those guys specifically, Gabby is the one player who's been dealing with a hamstring injury, so he's probably not going to play a big factor. He'll be with us. He'll be traveling with us, but I don't think he'll play a big factor in the games this week. He hasn't played in our preseason games. We just want to be careful that he doesn't go backwards at all. He pulled his hamstring before preseason started, so we're just kind of making sure that he's healthy. Jackson has had a great preseason. He's been one of our most important players over the last 3 years, heading into his senior year. We've got a lot of guys that are expecting to come in and get going immediately, right? Whether it's a Jackson or Pablo or Matty Acosta, as we mentioned. There's so many guys that we feel that had good seasons last year, and we're happy with where they were. But hey, can we even take it to another level? So I think Jackson will have a huge role on our team as he has the last 3 years. He's had a really good preseason. We're always trying to keep Jackson fresh, because when he's at its best is when he's lively and really playing at a super high pace. He's really difficult to deal with. He's a tenacious guy. So, some of the players, and it's a good quality to have for us as a team, and a problem for me is making sure our guys don't push it too hard all the time and really, peak at the wrong time. We're trying to make sure these guys stay fresh and healthy. It's always difficult, but the depth of our team, I think, is going to allow us to give guys like Jackson a little bit of a rest here and there in games, even when the games are tight, and have him be able to come back on in the second half of a game and hopefully help us win games.
For sure. One more quick question. And for you, Coach, again, this is your 4th season, I believe, on the bench as the head coach of Rutgers men's soccer. How can your influence play a role on all the players you mentioned, everything we've talked about so far in the press conference? What can we see from your perspective to really put Rutgers where it wants to be? You've tried to get to, national tournament for several years now. That has not worked out. You had a hot start last year. You came short. You fell out of the first round of the Big Ten tournament. Of course, you missed the national tournament once again. How can your influence really play a role? How can your leadership lead Rutgers, this team, to where it wants to go, but really put them on the map at the same exact time?
Yeah, I think it's putting our players in positions to get better and be successful. That's kind of my job, right? We recruit players here, put them in a great environment. We're very lucky. We've got an unbelievable facility. We've got a lot of support. Can I get our guys playing to the best of their ability? And some of it is tactical, but really it's about filling guys with confidence, making sure they understand what's needed, what the standard is. I think we're there with that. Our guys understand what's needed to be successful at the elite Division I level. There's no guarantees, right? It's all about how much time and how much effort you're putting in, and then how much, can we really come together as a group. And I think for this group, that's the last kind of stage is, hey, how can we make each other better in those tough moments? And you mentioned, we play Indiana during the regular season and win on the road, and then we lose 1-0 at their place in the Big Ten tournament. And if you look at our RPI and all those types of things, if we win that game against Indiana in the first round, we're probably in the NCAA tournament. It was that close, and if you look at a bunch of the other teams that made the NCAA tournament last year, one game can make a difference. And for us, if we beat Indiana a second time on the road, we're probably going to the tournament instead of someone else. So, hey, those games, every single moment matters, and we're keeping, we keep pushing our guys about the details of it, right? We have talent. We're going to score goals, but can we win games in big moments? Can we win on the road? And right now, we're not getting too far ahead of ourselves. It's, hey, let's think about Omaha. Can we play well on Thursday? Can we think about what we've worked on all preseason and all last spring and the experience of the last couple of years with some of our older players? And I think we've got a group that can compete with anybody.